Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Collegiate Call of Duty League. I'm Shift. With me is Mick. And boy, howdy, do we have a barn burner for us here, Mick. We have got two undefeated squads. Ottawa Black going up against Northern Iowa Gold. This is going to be a fun one because both teams are playing extremely well. And we'll talk about the map set here in a second. But it's actually a pretty favorable map set for UNI overall.
Yeah, UNI obviously doing and really favoring these checkpoint maps, as we can see so far, with the first three lining up to be the same exact thing. But overall, I love the way the map flows out. So I'm really excited to see these close engagements with all these guys between Ottawa and UNI, two undefeated teams, as you said, just duking it out and seeing exactly where those teams can dominate and exactly who has the better gunfight techniques.
And look, we're getting close to the end of the first stage here. Next week would largely be the last week for this first split for both of these squads. And for Ottawa Black, their only real true opponent that was in the front of them was the Iowa Hawkeyes, who I believe they played earlier today, and then now Northern Iowa Gold. So getting into this matchup overall, it's a battle largely for who's going to be at the top of Division A in the North Central region, which is going to be an interesting one because I think we kind of came into this region with a lot of question marks. Obviously, we knew that Ottawa was going to be good. We knew that Northern Iowa was going to be good. But Iowa has surprised us, at least so far in Division A, and Nebraska's also played pretty well. But on the other side, when the second split happens and the tops of both will combine, we've still got two undefeated teams on that side of the division in Illinois Blue and Concordia, Wisconsin. That matchup is actually going to be happening right alongside this one on the Bravo stream. So don't miss that one. But like you alluded to, we've got three checkmates to start things off. This is not bad news for Ottawa Black, but I would say it's more good news for Northern Iowa Gold because they largely have played a lot of checkmate and they're flawless over every single mode with this map specifically.
Yeah, and overall, just looking at these guys, as you said, Ottawa Black, obviously this isn't bad news for them. They just sit there when you do have UNI so used to checkmate. It's going to see a little bit of back and forth. But Ottawa overall, they've just been super strong over the course of the season. They've almost sat there, haven't lost a single map overall. I feel like regardless of what happens and where they're playing tonight, they're going to feel confident in themselves and be able to step up to it because overall, I mean, for the people they've faced so far, they really feel like at this point they don't really have much of a competition. I feel like UNI Gold and Ottawa Black are going to go into this game with mutual respect for each other, and we're just going to see two really good teams duking it out.
That's the intention. Again, if you have not heard the story of what's going on in Ottawa, this roster is completely stacked, really. Lightning, Fame, Fetty, and Noisy, the four-man roster there, also with Cruelty running on the captain spot. They've been largely using all of those players at one point or another. So that's, again, a very loaded roster. We could spend all day talking about them in one form or another. But on the bottom side, when you take a look at Northern Iowa as the away team here, Stun, Mello, Chalked, and Barty also have been playing very, very good Call of Duty. So we'll learn a lot about how good that Call of Duty is because they're going up against a roster that is largely dominated by challengers players. And it's no easy task to take down a team that has players that would finish top 16 really full group of four. So checkmate for our first three, the Hardpoint coming up. I mean, again, like you mentioned, the flow of the map. When it comes to Hardpoint overall, we're largely looking at the second hill as well as the fifth hill. Is this where that map gets decided, in your opinion, between who holds that between both these squads or what?
Honestly, Hardpoint is the number one mode where I feel like it's going to be determined because it's not about as much about kills. It's all about objective control. It's about getting those rotations in, finding a way to dominate the point and hold that and get set up. But I think these teams are so good at killing each other and dominating every single other team that they face. This is going to be where these teams have to show their intellect and show how well they know this map, how well they're ready to be set up for that next point and be prepared to take on the kind of infiltrations that the other teams are going to be set up. Because meanwhile, in S&D and control, you can clearly just end out the game by getting kills. But in terms of Hardpoint, it doesn't matter how many kills you get. If you're not on that point, you're not making any progress.
Indeed the case. We're about ready to jump on in. So checkmate for first map up here. Again, UNI, we talked about it initially. They've played this map two separate times. They found two wins on it. Their Garrison Hardpoint is what they're largely looking for, but I believe this was their map pick overall because the map 4 will be Crossroads, and that's where largely Ottawa Black has been making a lot of their blowouts happen when it comes to the Hardpoint overall. And then the Search and Destroy. It's been their most played search as well. They're 3-0. And then beyond that, they've largely only played checkmate control They're 4-0 there. So we're loading on in. Enough of the pre-stro banter. I know everyone out there is ready to get this one going. I know for sure I am. It'll be a first taste to see what Ottawa Black has to offer. We've seen UNI Gold a couple different times on the stream so far, and they've impressed every single time, but not quite against the caliber of opponent that they have here today. It's a battle for Division A, North Central's first seed, and as we spawn in, it's UNI Gold. They will actually be on the other side there. But if we can swap those around just really quickly, it's going to be the actual Gold here of Ottawa Black to get things started, and they have found the first opening bit of Hardpoint time and are trying to make a play for the initial portions of P2.
Yeah, these guys, you see that right out here on plane, that's a huge determining factor. The P1, and getting that min-map control, allowing yourself to open up, because even going into that second point later on, you have to be ready at that first point right off the bat, because once you get that plane control, it allows you to rotate anywhere in the map that you want to.
Well, we're just going to take a look to see who dies here for Ottawa Black really quickly. There we go. Everyone's back on screen here for us. UNI Gold in a really strong position so far, though, as they have battled up against that initial time for Ottawa Black. And there's a bit of a 50-50 battle as far as who will win this rotation. Not going to be successful, though, and UNI Gold will now be forced to break.
Yeah, we do see these guys getting ready for the setup. UNI has retaliated. They haven't let Ottawa get the best of them so far. Ottawa did do a great job at that one point, but UNI was getting ready to set up for that next one. As we see, they've already kind of rotated, and Ottawa has infiltrated once again, already ready for that point. But UNI is not giving up anytime soon, showing that they're going to keep this game close. They're not going to get shut out like any of these other teams where they get sub 100.
Trying to zone off this street lane. Going to find one, not able to take down Stun Cities. But again, the problem is there's not enough numbers here for a contest of this scrap time, as Cruelty just gunning people down from Tube is able to find a double kill. And that will lead to Ottawa Black finding roughly about a full 60 seconds here in the second hard point. They already have numbers starting to make their way over towards the plane as well. Cruelty, he's going to take down one from behind, but in the end, it's actually UNI Gold with a bit of a split situation, as they did go 50-50 in the gunfights, and Barney will make sure that that does stay the case as he's able to find one more kill off the respawn.
Yeah, we see these guys already going down in this bottom plane, and we saw Ottawa earlier being able to take advantage of this, going up top and doing well in those kind of duelist situations where it's just kind of a one-on-one situation. But under the plane is a lot different, as you do have a lot more open areas, you have a lot more places to go prone, you have a little bit more cover, not as much penetration going on. Therefore, you can't just blindly pepper bullets into the opponent hoping that some gets hits and kills. But we do see these guys already set up for this, doing a great job holding UNI back in their spot.
A scary moment right here with still 27 seconds to play. The Panthers cannot allow Ottawa Black to just find free time here. They have to contest it, but the zone is just so darn good for Ottawa Black. 3 players fall. Mello, the last one left, is going to try to give this a go, but it was desperate, wasn't it? That'll be him falling, and with that, Ottawa Black over 100 points.
Oh my goodness, man. We were hoping that UNI could sit there and step it up, but they still have plenty of time to do it. These guys need 140 more points to close out the game for Ottawa, but UNI, they know that they've gone back and forth on these first couple points, and as soon as they can find a way to establish themselves, get those rotations in, once that rotation comes through and point 1 comes back around, maybe they can be prepared for that and try and turn the scales into their favor here.
Lightning on 5 in a row, looking for 6, able to find it 1 kill away from potentially getting the artillery strikes. He's chalked at long range and will not be able to find elimination, so the threat of streaks has been shut down a bit. That's largely the only bit of good news right now for the Panthers. They are getting put into an absolute blender. It was a full 60 on P2, about 40 seconds with the time on the third hill, and right now, outside of this bit of contest, it's been all Ottawa Black here on the 4th hard point. Barney and Mello finally able to break over the monotony of what has largely been an Ottawa kill feed, and that will give them a little bit of time generated on this 4th hill, but the problem is you still have to rotate over to the front side of wood for the 5th.
Yeah, and these guys, I'm sure UNI is very thankful right now. They just needed any kind of points at all. They wanted to stop them at some point, because once you hit 150, it almost feels like a mental checkpoint. So once you get around to that stage, the fact that UNI could get onto the point, they could go ahead and find themselves. At this point, they can, by any means, lock the guys down in Ottawa over in that point and get ready for the next one, as long as they can hold them out and make sure their spawns are held back there as best as possible with the magnitude of this map being so small. But if they don't look and get the chance to get on that next point, then all that work is going to be for nothing, and they're going to go ahead and get shut out with this point advantage that Ottawa is already going to be establishing on this one.
Well, it's going to be down to this plane control initially. Chalked and Barney find the first 2 kills, but Cruelty inside of wood has reduced the deficit as he finds 1 kill from the front. Noisy, nice little pixel peek that is onto Barney. Able to turn around for a second, and good help for Fame to keep him insane. That'll be another full 60 essentially achieved here for the Braves of Ottawa University, and that will put them likely also over the 200-point threshold very, very soon in this match.
And we do see these guys already trying to get ready for that next point, but Noisy's doing a great job here doing some kind of infiltration there. He did get clipped off, but he had enough disruption in the game to sit there and make sure that any guys on the back didn't have any kind of lines of sight. They couldn't go ahead and get these early picks, locking them into their spawns. As we do see, they finally found some kind of way to get back onto the point, but UNI doing a great job of not letting them hold that down.
The problem is you have to play perfect hardpoint right now. We have not seen them even win a single rotation at the moment, so that's going to have to start right here. Barney actually tossed a Semtex as Stun Cities wanted to make the slide shell happen. He gets cut up, and now the last two members for the Panthers inside the hardpoint are just sitting here holding their lines. So he's just going to commit forward. He gets dealt with. Lightning as well also falls. This has been a nice hold here, and now all of a sudden Northern Iowa have a chance to not just scrape this hardpoint time, but they've got numbers to start moving across the map, pending they can get through Noisy off the respawn. He's 20-9, so the statistics would kind of go to show that that's not going to be an easy task to do. And once again, it's going to be Ottawa Black trying to contest every single second. 10 seconds to play for. Noisy not going to fall. 21-9 for the kid. And, well, Lightning's even giving him run for his money. He's at 20-12. And Ottawa Black look like they're going to be able to put this game away with just one good break of either the second hard point or a good rotation to the third.
Yeah, Ottawa Black doing a great job right there, allocating their guys in the right places. They knew that Noisy was the top fragger so far. They wanted to put him on that point, try to disrupt. And, you know, usually those bottom of the barrel scrap up points that you get there at the very end, they want to make sure that UNI was disrupted that was denied that, because they did a very good job of actually getting some points on the board here. But Ottawa was already ready for that next point. UNI didn't get enough early of rotations. They did get a couple seconds over there on the board on P2, but it wasn't enough for them to actually get any time to set up and find these angles and get the man in the right areas that they wanted to. So that was making a very easy break for Ottawa Black there, especially looking at how these guys are playing. If you're not perfectly set up, they're going to infiltrate you almost immediately, doing exactly that and setting themselves in a much better place here.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons why you're dealing with Ottawa Black and Ottawa Gold is the top two teams currently in the power rankings, and I'm pretty sure everybody who's voting on those rankings have that in some form, whether it's Black is 1, Gold is 2, or vice versa. 250-68 will be the final score here for map number 1, and I'm starting to already chew on my words when it came down to UNI Gold is probably not upset about seeing 3 checkmates first. I might have to reconsider that thought after the 100 points I was put into play pretty quickly here for Ottawa Black.
Yeah, and, you know, going forward, they do still have a chance here. As we usually see, Control and Search and Destroy are a lot slower, and we see these guys, you know, maybe Ottawa Black is just a lot better at thinking on their feet. So UNI, they do have a chance as soon as you come around to those slower modes and those kind of modes that are based on lives and things of the likes of that, where eliminations do count and how many kills you get. They could give UNI the chance to take a step back, say, all right, they may have fragged out this time, but we also played recklessly trying to get on these points.
Right.
So maybe if we can slow it down a little bit going forward, we do well on this map. So let's just recollect ourselves, because we don't want to get 3-0'd and let that momentum continue that they just had on Hardpoint.
And I'm glad that you used the word reckless, because kind of watching it from an overarching standpoint, it did kind of feel like for Northern Iowa Gold that they were playing a little bit looser than they probably should have been when it came down to certain things like trying to hit rotations, trying to get exit kills. I think especially that first P2 was very evident of that, where you had a couple of members that were trying to back up, a couple of them were trying to push forward, and they kind of got caught on both ends of the spear there. So not exactly the greatest start for Northern Iowa, but they are number 11 for a reason, and maybe we can find out what that reason is when they get to the Search and Destroy here. And I'll say this much, you know, just talking about this UNI squad, I think they largely surprised a lot of people when they came out of the opening gates of the CCL season. They didn't have a bad year last year, but it definitely wasn't a 6-0 start, that's for damn sure. So for them to come through, they're 5-1 overall on Search and Destroy. Their only map loss was out of Moscow that they had played. You have to be feeling like, okay, we're coming into this with the best Call of Duty that we've had at the school, maybe for these 4 individually. But the problem is you can't necessarily take recent results as a barometric test to say, yeah, we're ready for the number 2 team overall, maybe.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you on that. You know, when it goes forward, when you do see these guys possibly, you know, even over the past years, looking at just the magnitude and the change of the game going from Modern Warfare to Cold War, that's such a different dynamic overall. And these guys, it took us all by storm, but the fact that now that they're facing the number 2 team, you know, in this whole conference, they're now getting taken by storm. Yeah. They're kind of getting put in their place here, knowing that there's some times where they're going to be desperate, some times where they're going to have to make some shot calling instead of just overall doing well and not being put in those positions prior.
That's totally a fair point. And I just am hoping that we see them be able to come out with some collective utility. Because let's be honest, like we mentioned, the last thing you want to be calling a search and destroy is reckless. So
Hmm.
we're hoping that there's going to be some things right there to help them get back into the series. But you look at the Crossroads hardpoint that would have to be map number 4. I just don't feel great about UNI being able to successfully play that map versus
Hmm.
this Ottawa Black team. So in my mind, this is not just a must-win search and destroy. It's also a must-win control, I think,
Yeah.
overall, which is troublesome.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, especially Crossroads. It's a lot more aggressive than Checkmate. There's a lot more openness to it. There's not as many dueling areas. Even inside of those bunkers, you have nothing but kind of just squares forcing you to face off against each other compared to the likes of Checkmate, where you can kind of sit in the back, you can get some long range angles, things of the likes. But if you don't sit over there on the side and go ahead and let them get that height advantage on you, you're going to be in those close quarters encounters all game. And I'm sure they
Absolutely.
don't want to be put into that situation.
And it's one of those things as well. Like, I just have to kind of speak to the strength that this Ottawa Black roster does have when you have the individuals of Lightning, Fame, Noisy, Cruelty, all of them making their way through the challenger scene. Fame and Noisy specifically finding a lot more success in the last couple of cups than how they started the year off. Lightning and Cruelty not quite get to that top 32 spot overall, but the fact of the matter is they've been competing either in the local environment, in the local scenes near them, or they've been trying to make it happen in challengers for at least the last 2 years. And that comes with a lot of search and destroy practice. That scrimmage ability with very experienced players that are around you. That's so important. And I think my
Mhm.
big question here is for Northern Iowa, have they been able to get good search and destroy practice against very capable opponents? Not to sit there and
Mhm.
say that the teams they're scrimming against might not be capable, but when you compare that to Fame and Noisy, who just come off of playing at a very high level from the Modern Warfare year, where they're playing with the best amateur players that are currently in Call of Duty, that's a totally different level of
Yeah.
gameplay, without a doubt.
Yeah, and we say it constantly around here that search and destroy wins games. If you're shut down and you can go back and you can retaliate on search and destroy, that gives you some breathing room. If
Yeah,
the other team wins it and they close it on search and destroy, that's a 2-0 lead right there. And they're most likely favored in that situation. So there's so much that you're looking for right here. Search and destroy is so unique and so beautiful in that way because of the fact that
mm,
when you look at it, it seems so quick and so almost once again reckless, but it seems so fast paced and like there's no kind of like coordination into it. But when you really sit there and like being in those players' shoes and just think of evaluating yourself when you're playing with your friends, even when you sit there, there's more tactic in search and destroy than there is in any other kind of mode because you
absolutely.
only have one life to deal with and you have to make the most of
And you just don't want to be caught off guard, I think, overall, when it
it.
comes to your preparation first and foremost, but also how are you able to adjust as you get through these maps. So, Checkmate, Search, and Destroy, not an easy map mode combination. It's been troubling for a number of teams, not just in the CCL, but also beyond that in what's happening in Challengers, as well as what's happening in the CDL overall. So, we'll see if UNI Gold have something up their sleeve here. You kind of feel like they're going to need a curveball, a spinner,
Yeah.
a slider, a knuckleball just to get past this Ottawa Black team. But if there were ever a mode for them to do it, you have to feel like it's probably going to be there. And we're spawning in just a little bit late. There is a Codcaster bug with some players joining it a little bit later than others. That does also include the Observer. Lightning finds first blood. Barney, he's desperately hoping for a trade, but will not be allowed to grab it. Cruelty's here for help, and now you've got yourself with an Ottawa Black 4v2 situation. Barney doing what he can to try to hold on to it, but will eventually drop in Ottawa Black. They get the numbers, and they roll right through for their first round.
Yeah, I'm still confused of whether or not we just spawned in later where they just killed him too early in that situation because
Maybe
that was
both.
really quick round there. And I think, the fact that they were both on plane, we saw Ottawa Black, even on Hardpoint, when you get in those close quarter situations, they're just better at knowing where people are going to usually be placed. They're going to wall bang those spots as much as possible and usually get the most damage on you before you can even see what they look like.
Well, first attempt here for Ottawa Black to get their offense going. Pretty traditional, pretty orthodox. ARs start to spam. Noisy does find first blood. It's actually on the crossover towards the A wing. Fame, Septex, no trophies as of earned yet. So now the stun to follow behind that. That's actually just a check to see if anyone's on the wing, but it's not going to make a difference because, again, Ottawa find the second kill, and it's another 4v2 very early on.
Goodness gracious. Man, just saying this, seeing how orthodox these guys are, how coordinated they are, they know exactly what they're doing. You see men spamming off on the side. It seems like, their controller's glitching out, but there's meaning to it. These guys know exactly what they're looking for. They're trying to go ahead and get these peppers down. They're trying to get any kind of intel whatsoever because the map isn't all that big. So a utility call right there off the bat is huge for these guys, and they're looking for every small thing because it speaks so much more volume in a map like this.
At a certain point, you have to feel like Ottawa Black will not just give you physical warfare, they'll bring mental warfare to the picture as well. You already had some instances of some body shooting going on early from Cruelty, just letting them know, hey there, if you're going to take long-range gunfights versus me, you better be bringing your A game. And it's also just the fact that as soon as Ottawa Black have numbers, they're just going to run at you. They're just going to keep playing trades. So UNI Gold really need to be responsible for these first bloods to either get the immediate trades or find a way to deal with it. Noisy, quick hit from right through the A lane. Mellow, he's not going to turn around here. Should be a free kill. No, Noisy walks right by him. And he's going to try to pinch up this player over towards the side. I'm sure Chalk is saying, what in the world? How did he get there? And you've got another situation where Ottawa Black have not dropped a member, and it's just down to Mellow.
And we see these guys, Noisy, just doing a great job constantly being on the other side of the field, finding ways to maneuver around the map, getting a pick, moving out, getting a pick, moving out, finding a way to constantly rotate around the map, make those favorable, and make all the encounters he runs into favorable for him, and finding ways, see, as you see right here, he's always catching men off guard somehow. That's all about the coordination of the team. They're letting him know exactly where they are. He's letting them know where these shots are coming from. They're using this intel to find out where they're not, so they can go ahead and create an exact route for these guys who are finding a way onto their side of the map to get those picks. Because all in all, they don't care whether they get the kills or not. They just want their teammates to get that, so they win these trades. They had the man advantage because it's all about rounds. It's not about kills overall in the long terms of things. You want to win rounds.
Hey, here we go. Northern Iowa, first time that they can talk about a first blood in their favor. And there is no immediate trade, but famed Semtex will essentially establish 1 3v3. We go. Stun Cities over towards the outside, making sure that if Cruelty does peak, you will be challenged in some form. And meanwhile, up top, Barney has found the second elimination, so numbers advantage now for the first time with the Panthers.
Yeah, as we see, they're not capitalizing off that as well. When you can look at that bottom left and see the mini-map, you see these guys are a lot more spread. Thankfully, winning some of these engagements with Fame finding a pick finally. But UNI, thankfully, finding a way to kind of close that out because we saw they were a lot more spread. They didn't play as close quarters with each other and work for those trades as hard. They just played more for like a setup kind of game and played a lot more slowly. And I think that's a determining factor against Ottawa Black, who's so aggressive. If you think you're smarter than these guys, they're showing that doesn't matter. If they can go ahead and get a quick first blood on you, be a lot more aggressive with that with that opener there, that they're just going to storm you overall and most likely win that.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and just put my stack here that if you're going to win rounds, if you're UNI Gold, you need to continue to find first bloods for free. And how about it? There it is. Lightning though with the Semtex to find the kill. Stun Cities wants to push forward, but it's Noisy pushing the outer wing. Nobody watching it. He finds 2 kills, and now it's just down to Mellow. Fame will scout him out and immediately put him down. Another quick round for Ottawa Black.
Yeah, and we see just once again, these guys are going right up on playing. At this point, they know exactly how these guys are setting up. When you've seen Ottawa, you know there's going to be a guy up there every round. They're both going to know that somebody's up there. So maybe, as we said earlier, and as you said earlier, talking about with those curveballs, maybe when you're on offense, don't put anybody up there. Just see what kind of disruption that throws their way. Find that knuckleball, that curveball, something to, confuse them a little bit because they're so accustomed to doing the same thing every single round, knowing you're going to be there. Change things up a bit. Buy yourself some mental time on their behalf and let them think for a little bit and be acting on those moments.
And look, here's the thing. With Ottawa Black trying to play as aggressive as they are, if you could bait them into situations to where, all right, now we know exactly what we need to be watching, maybe could give us that numbers advantage. But every time I'm starting to say something that UNI Gold needs to do, it sounds like I'm just like a desperate kid on Christmas looking for a handout, right? It's just... It's easier said than done without question. Yeah. As Fame finds another 2 kills. Last play out the line will be Chalk looking for his first overall kill. He will grab one, but he needs to get through 2 more, and well, the Braves will not allow him to. 5-1 up, go Ottawa Black.
Goodness gracious, and I'm totally with you, kind of acting in desperation. That's what these guys are doing at this point. I feel when you're down this much, you're extremely happy about getting that first round, but once you closed out as soon as that and as quickly as they did, you sit there and think, Was that just luck on our part, or was that just misfortune on theirs? Was that some kind of divine intervention to show, get one round on the board and show that we're at least trying to play the game here? When all in all, you want to find a way to get that momentum, you have to scrap up whatever courage you can with that one round to keep it going, because otherwise, they only had 2 more rounds at that point once you got that one round on the board.
Here we go. First blood coming through for the Panthers. That's through the bottom of the plane, but the problem is Noisy has once again pushed through a lane and is able to respond to it. 3v3 up top. Lightning catches Barney just a touch off guard. And as Noisy wraps back to try to make sure that they stay safe over towards the plane itself. There is a numbers advantage for a time, but the Panthers have now turned it into a 2v2. Braves sticking together. Noisy on the way back, and they've flipped the map around pretty convincingly here. The problem is no one seems to know where each other are at the moment.
And I think UNI is looking to keep it that way as they finally get a bomb down. I think the first plant we've had all game, they're finally in a situation where they know something's different and they can take advantage of that in Ottawa, because they haven't been used to people playing these bombs. They're so used to just marking them right off the bat that they don't get a chance to.
There we go. Stun City is good for 1. Cruelty responds immediately. Also has the regen into play. So 1v1 situation. Chalk, the last player that's alive, is just holding tight onto the bomb. It's up to Cruelty to make a play, and here he comes. Going around the back. This is going to be chalked. He gets the sound cue.
There you go.
But for a second, he might get turned on, but no. Gets the gunfight, and UNI find their second round.
And if we did see Ottawa, the player right there, we see Cruelty running a pistol going up that ladder. That's really unfortunate. The man had to back out of that gunfight and say, oh, that's the wrong weapon. Okay, hold on. Give me a second. I'll get back to this. Okay, now let's shoot. And by that point, Jacob already had a lockdown on where he was at. He knew exactly where he was coming from, and he was just trying to bind time. He was trying to win that gunfight, and even if he didn't, he was going to find a way to slow it down as much as possible, because when in those situations, you just want the bomb to blow up as soon as your gunfight. You want to just find any way for this round to somehow come out in your favor.
Noise is going to slow things down here. Picks up an M4. Is watching the outer angle. Cruelty will find first blood. That'll free Noisy to go up top. He will see Stun Cities go from right to left, but Stun City is able to stay alive. And then Chalk was also seen for a moment, and Mello, fortunately, is able to even the odds early up here to a 3v3.
Doing a great job locking down the map here, closing it out even more. We saw, Noisy moved up. He saw Stun, I'm sorry, kind of cross over a little bit, saw that he moved in, and Noisy said, all right, I can close in at this point, because I got Fame back there watching the side. He's watching that lane. If he comes back out, we already know he's in plane or he's somewhere over here. So I'm going to close this off, and we're going to corner these guys in the map. And it's so methodical and awesome to see how these guys are working and coordinating the pushes.
Well, Chalk did see Fame try to cut a crossover towards the bomb site, so everybody for UNI Gold should know where he's positioned, at least roughly. It's a 1v3 situation. Fame playing the clock down to its last dying moments. No one's challenging him, though, and that's right. Sunseed is able to see him. Fame bunny hops out of the exit, finds the first kill, gets a second. There's not enough time for a plant. Just run away if you're Chalk. It looks like he will do so successfully. 3rd round on the board for UNI Gold.
Fame in a rough situation right there. We did see him set up in the back left over there on spawn. He was trying his hardest to make sure that everything was locked down. They were trying to close down that map. But when you're on offense, you also need to worry about getting that bomb down, and that's exactly what they weren't worried about. They just saw UNI went around. I think that kind of threw them in a loop there. They didn't see it coming, especially with the way that round closed out. That at that point, they were a little bit flustered. They didn't know how to react to it. They didn't know how to come together and find a way to improve upon that, besides just saying, you need to win those gunfights. Which, if I'm an Ottawa Black player, I'm confused. I'm like, when do I not win gunfights? Like, how am I supposed to improve off of this? And I feel like UNI in that situation, they kind of moved forward and they took advantage of the fact that these guys' coordination fell apart on that push towards the bomb.
Just as a little bit of statistical backing here, for Stun and Mello, they have been holding the top overall KDs for their team on Search and Destroy. So you're looking at them to largely do a lot of the legwork, and Mello did find a couple of kills in that last round. Stun with an SMG is considering moving forward. Cruelty would be the first contestant up. Here's the trophy system, and that may have been enough for Stun to sit there and say he's got to be in this tight corner, but now he's caught in a Rube's position. At least he goes 1 for 1. It keeps the numbers down to a 3v2, still favoring Ottawa Black, though.
And, that was really unfortunate for this guy. He saw the push. He made sure to get up there and get that kill. But issue is, when you're in that situation, these Ottawa Black guys are going to have you on lockdown. They're never going to be in a situation where one of them can't see each other. And they're never going to let these trades just go unpunished. And it's just crazy to see how they have this set up. So when you're playing in UNI's shoes, how do you find a way to get those kills, to get those openers without being traded out? Because that's what you're looking for. You're looking for an advantage to capitalize on. And it's just so hard against these Ottawa Black guys to find that.
And look, this is a different ball game to what Northern Iowa has seen so far. Their only real stiff butt of competition so far had been the Iowa Hawkeyes, which they still took very, very cleanly. The rest of this Division A is kind of a mystery. Like, what are we really seeing from Bethany College? What are we really seeing from Nebraska? And then you've got St. Ambrose, who's at 3-3, and then the next closest is Northwestern Missouri State, which we've seen a lot of on these streams. They're just 2-5. So maybe something to be said about the fact that, UNI, they've only lost a single map so far up until they played up against Ottawa Black, but maybe there was a reason for it. We'll step away for a break. It's going to have to be a reverse sweep for the Panthers. Otherwise, Ottawa Black, they would find themselves not just on top of the division, but they could potentially keep their map win-loss ratio completely perfect. We'll find out what occurs as we get to the checkmate on the control right after this break. Welcome back there, everybody. Well, it's been a very uneventful affair so far, to be completely candid. Ottawa Black all over Northern Iowa so far. I think there were some hopefuls out there, myself candidly included, hoping that the Panthers would be able to put up a little bit of a fight versus Ottawa Black, but mixed so far, it's been anything but that.
Yeah, and, going into this, I expected Ottawa Black, no offense, to sit there and not exactly steamroll. We did see a competition when it came to search and destroy, which we're always happy to see. We always see, a little bit of mental game coming into factor compared to always Hardpoint, where these guys have shut out almost everybody to be sub 100 so far. So there wasn't too much of a surprise there. They just run out, run and gun, and do their job. But when it comes to search and destroy and things slow down, there's always something that could happen. So going forward in control, the same exact thing could possibly happen.
Look, I'm a sucker for the underdog. If anyone's ever heard me cast before, when it comes to situations like this, I'm always in the underdog's camp. And I'm going to continue to be one more time. UNI Gold has played 6 controls so far. 4 of them have been on checkmate. All of their controls have been wins. Just going to say that. It's out there. It's out there for the public to kind of react to. But let's be honest. It's one of the things that we were talking about. Even if Northern Iowa do win this checkmate control, the Crossroads Hardpoint is just a map that you just feel, based on how Ottawa Black are playing, they're likely just going to look to run over you. And unless you've got something up your sleeve here as far as a really solid lockdown setup for some of those big money hills, I'm not feeling all that hopeful that we'll get to that map 5, which would mean that you and I would have a reverse sweep on the cards for them. So we'll see how things kind of unfold. But checkmate control, what are the kind of big things that you're looking forward to as we jump in?
I'm looking for the best control I've seen all season. I've casted plenty of games. I've talked about, I personally, when I play COD, I'm not a big control fan, but watching better teams than me play, it's so awesome to see how they can maneuver on the field. Usually you do see one side or the other one point, like you see teams going for A or just hard pushing B and then switching when they, it doesn't work for them. But I'm hoping both of these teams are so good where we're going to see constant confrontation on all over the field. We're going to see guys trying to push A, trying to push B at the same time, and we're going to see retaliations on both parts. And those are the games I love, is when you sit there and utilize 2 points to keep the enemy on their toes, almost like a search and destroy.
All right, well, we'll see if those things can kind of come through here. Opening first exchange eliminations will just barely favor the Braves. Chalk able to make sure it stays a 3-for-3 life exchange. And for now, Ottawa Black, no progress to speak of, which is decent news for you and I. The only problem is Austin Cruelty is working in your backline and trying to open up some space.
Yeah, Cruelty's the one guy they got to look out for right now. We do see they have really good flank control right now, but Cruelty already with the flank, putting him in a little bit of a ringer situation here. But when you have so much flank control, you don't only have to just control the plane, you have to know how to use that control to help yourselves out, play defense or offense on the point, and establish yourself and get any kind of early picks you can to favor your team when it comes to these tickets.
Okay, and we'll see how things kind of unfold here. Second tick of progress is about to be on the way here for B, but it is just Cruelty by himself. You would love to take him off before they secure that second tick, and goodness, barely was Barty able to do just that. Now over towards A, we turn our attention. A couple of players for the Braves are here. Stun is going to try to make his way through the bottom of the plane to maybe contest this. He's by himself, though, and these are challenges that are really risky and largely don't amount to much of anything. So not a big fan of the challenge, and with that, it will be an easy kill for Ottawa Black and a lockdown of the A zone.
Yeah, we see these guys. That was a really good lock from them. They went B-side. They got one of those ticks. They did really well and established themselves. But they actually took the moment to step back and say, okay, now that they know they're going to be pushing this way, we need to go ahead and try and switch out. If we can get one man over there to disrupt it, try our best to kind of allocate them and get the spread out. We always win these 2v1 situations. We know how to see each other while fighting across the map. So let's just spread out a little bit and let's win these gunfights. It doesn't matter where we are. We're going to get something somewhere.
And to be fair, the Braves are playing pretty loose here. Looking for 1v1s largely is what you would figure. Fame was close to streaks as he had a pretty slow start, but he was not able to earn those streaks. So the lives still about a 3-point gap right now. And again, that B zone, very difficult to grab. Lightning is trying to be annoying. He's on 4 kills in a row, was hoping for a shot punch, but Stun will find the elimination, and that will alleviate a lot of pressure around this B plane.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate for Lightning right there. When you sit there and jump over that wall, and once you lock yourself in that situation and they know that you're not coming back out, they're going to play the aggressor. He knew he had a couple hits on you. You know you're at low health in that situation. You needed, at that point, you're in a desperate situation, especially when you're so close to a kill streak. That's detrimental, especially shutting down these guys on Ottawa.
Well, 3-for-1 exchange coming through. That'll lead towards the Braves getting onto the B site for now. Stun up top. Looking to make a play from behind. He's got 2 Braves in front of him and lines them up for a collateral double. Bruley also scouted out. 3 for him. Oh, Stunner. Nearly had a chance to get a go at the 4th, but Lightning does win the engagement, and that'll keep some options open for Ottawa Black coming off spawn with just 25 seconds to play. And more lives are getting low. No more respawns available for UNI Gold. They're on their last 4 lives.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to mention before we saw that double kill over there on B side is that Ottawa could have sat there and, you know, played a little bit more loosely, played a little more comfortably with having all those lives advantage. But, you know, looking at that, I'm thankful I didn't say it because they played a little too loosely, got a couple of lives picked off from them, and then at that point, they didn't have as much of an advantage as they wanted because we can see it right here. They just kind of gave it to them. We had 2 men walking the same exact direction, and we're not used to seeing that out of Ottawa. They're very good at being able to get their vision across the map and watch every corner while still being able to maintain a lock on top of each other.
Kind of felt like there was just them not counting numbers right there. I mean, they got a 3-for-1 exchange. Maybe they thought all 4 were dead. They just didn't really account for the last player. But, I mean, we're really getting nitpicky here, aren't we? I mean, they still won the round overall. And offense on control for checkmate, not exactly the easiest map mode combination overall. Stunner going to find first blood, even though Fame did tag him up pretty heavily through the wall. Barney also another kill. The heal will be tagged up by a Semtex. So Fame getting a lot of damage in already. And it's going to be required for a bit more, as he's one of the last defenders left for the Braves up front. You're going to have a UNI Gold off spawn looking to make a play over towards A. 2 members will get here. Just comes down to, can the other Panthers in the middle of the map deal with the pressure from Ottawa Black? The answer so far, definitive no. And Ottawa Black is quick to be here for the retake.
Yeah, we see these guys doing a really good job finding ways to maneuver around the map. This is where UNI has to step up. When you're on defense, you can be strewn across the map, but you know all in all where these guys got to go. But when you're on offense, that's where you have to step up, and you have the advantage to put these defenders on their toes, put them in different situations, and UNI being pretty direct about this A site right now.
I mean, it was a good opportunity. I was calling out the retake coming through, figuring that the Braves would just win the gunfights, but Barney found 3 in a row. Kind of make me bite my tongue there for a moment. But he's going to have to do a little bit more than that. Gets tagged up from the top side of the plane, slides back over towards safety, at least so he thinks there's safety over towards the A side. Able to read Cruelty. It's a nice elimination. Mello 1 more. So now there's numbers here for the Panthers, but the problem is you have to control a zone. And the player is still coming out of spawn. They're going to be hard-pressed to do just that. Fame, one of the last players left alive inside the plane. We'll get 1 more trade-off kill. Lightning off spawn finds the second. Second to progress will be good onto A. And it just comes down to the decision-making here. Do Ottawa Black want to make a play to try to retake this? Noisy would suggest that yes, they do. Finds 1, but not a second. And that will be an extra 60 seconds on the clock. And with a 4-man feed, the Panthers can actually stack the B zone for maybe some initial progress here as well.
Wow, I'm super happy for these guys. You know, they finally are finding their stride. They're finding a way to get on top of these points. They're getting these gunfights, especially seeing, you know, Barney taking a play out of Noisy's handbook and giving him a taste of his own medicine there. You know, we saw him going for the flank. Actually picked that man off who's a master of flank so far on this map when it comes to this matchup. and finding a way to infiltrate that. But once he got closed out, it's a shame because, you know, you want to buy that time. You want to sit there and be that wild card for the other team to where they're hunting you down, making sure they don't get clipped off rather than going for that objective.
And look, there are some small moments that have been in here where UNI Gold against other opponents, they've probably been able to get away with it. You talk about kind of Barney there near the end. He's the last player left for UNI Gold near the B side. He tries to take an ego chow versus Lightning and loses it. And what does that do? It puts UNI Gold in a bit of a spawn trap. He really has to play his life right there. There's not really much of an opportunity for him to get any progress down. And so now the pressure has been established for Ottawa Black. The lives once again becoming a bit low. Barney on another flank, not going to get the best of Cruelty this time around. And that should be enough for Ottawa Black to likely close out these back 30 seconds unless somebody from the Panthers can make a play.
Yeah, they do only have really one tick left over there on B, so if they can find a way to get out of spawn, which I mean, it's looking really rough right now to try and do. Overall, if they can manage to break through and get on that point, these guys, and as long as it's not just in a way to where they're kind of funneling in and getting killed one by one, then they had a chance. But, you know, they just couldn't find a way to, they couldn't push over to the side, they couldn't find a way to kind of, you know, utilize their numbers to their advantages. So they just kept on charging forward and let these picks from the side come, rather than saying collectively, okay, we need to win these gunfights against these guys on the side. Let them spawn on the other side of the map, and then we can have that time. We have a couple seconds. If we get on that point, the timer stops. So we just need to make sure to get around there. We can use this time, and we can have one final stand on the point instead of in our spawn.
Two very tight rounds coming down not just the clock, but also the lives. But in the end, it still sees Ottawa Black with a 2-0 lead. And beyond that, the last two kills that Noisy found in the prior round earned him both of his streaks as he's on 8 in a row. So more bad news here for the Panthers. Trophy system will deny initial utility coming out from this attack from Ottawa Black. Lightning takes care of one. Fame another. Noisy looking for his 9th straight kill. And, well, those are not wooden walls there, friends. More like paper mache. Noisy, he finds 10 straight. Picks up the M4 and decides work is not over yet. Let me just get back to it.
Yeah, you know, talking about these guys and talking about Noisy on this 11 streak right now, he's loving the fact that he has these kill streaks on the attack side. While you're playing on defense, you do sit there and have a way to utilize it to clear up that point once and every now and then. But when you're on attack, when you have that advantage on the point, you can use that to lock these guys in their spawn and make even more kind of utility out of it than it would be on defense, because you're just looking at a mini map, and if you know where these guys are going to be and you know they're on that point, you're using it to clear if you can't get around there. But if you're on offense, you're pushed up on point, you're saying, okay, we're on this point, let's just blow up everything around the point and we can make sure they don't get here. And it's just has so much more of an advantage and kind of a bigger impact to it.
Well, 2 ticks of progress at B. Working on the 3rd is Fame. With that elimination, he should be able to guarantee it. And with still a tick and about a 1/3 of another ready to go here onto A, that will also be the 3rd tick of progress on the way coming in, and that's going to likely be a 3-0. Fame's on 6 straight, earns himself some streaks, and Ottawa Black take a 3-0 in the series and a 3-0 overall in the control.
Man. Checkmate, checkmate, checkmate. You know, I'm sure they're happy. They said checkmate at this point. They said, this is good, convenient. This is ironic. You know, this is it. Because, goodness gracious, you know, I was like you up in the beginning. I was hoping UNI Gold could give us a game here. And I think, you know, they're thankful for this opportunity because of where they've been put into this position, facing off against these guys. By no means is their season over. They've done a great job leading up to this point. We still have split 2. We still have the whole brackets up to that point, and they still have a chance to be within those top qualifying teams to go straight to playoffs if they can step it up from here. So overall, I'm sure they're extremely thankful to play somebody like Ottawa Black and lose, because when you're at such a point and you feel like you've hit a peak because you're beating everybody, it's nice to kind of be put into your place, realize that my job's not done. I still have places I can improve. We now have films where we can see us getting beat somewhere. So we have something we can look at to say, all right, this is where I can do something better. This is where I can do something better, because especially looking at Ottawa Black, they can put themselves in their shoes going forward and find a way to counter their plays by playing just like them.
I would say if I were UNI Gold, going back and re-looking at these 3 maps, the one word that I would want you to ask yourself about when it comes to are we doing it or not is just patience. Because there were a lot of gunfights in there where at long range, short range doesn't make much of a difference. They were towing up, you know, toe to toe. But the problem was when the numbers started to get out of hand, That's when Ottawa Black really kind of let the gas down. And to be fair, they were giving a little bit of help because UNI Gold were taking some challenges that largely you just got to know how to finesse a little bit more to really value your life a little bit more. So, yeah, no, I think that there's a lot of learning to be done there for UNI Gold. And just taking a look at how Division A is squaring up, we largely would believe that this would be a battle for the top spot overall when it comes to this first split. Again, that doesn't really mean much because after we get through week number 5, there will be a reformation of this North Central region to a top cut and bottom cut. And UNI Gold will not have to play up against Ottawa Black again. They'll get a chance to play up against the other top 5 teams from Division B, which, to be fair, there's a lot of mysteries over there as well. Illini Blue 6-0, Concordia, Wisconsin 6-0. They're playing each other, I believe, right now in the Bravo stream. You should definitely check in on that. But also, you've got DePaul Esports that are 5-1. So there are some decent opponents on the other side of the forum as well, where you can maybe, again, exercise some of the things you learned from this matchup and hopefully get yourself right back into your winning ways.
Yeah, and I feel like UNI Gold, this is really good overall for these guys. But going forward, also for Ottawa Black, they're thankful they can be sitting at these top spots, just sitting comfortably up there, but knowing that, they kind of also got a little reminder this week, knowing that, we're not always going to shut these guys out. Maybe in Hardpoint, we'll get the best of them on that. But
Sure.
when it comes to search and destroy and control, we still got a little bit of work to do because there's a couple shaky moments there where we need to make sure our confidence is just stable from start to finish.
Well, that concludes our second match of the evening. We still got one more to go. It's going to be the Colorado Frost out of Colorado Springs going up against Arizona State Maroon to close off the Alpha stream. We're going to send things to a break, get all of our resources put together, and come back with our third and final match of the Monday evening matches here in week number 4 right after this.